All right. Welcome, everybody, to the first ever episode 1 of the Junior Bible Quiz, JBQ Quiz Talk. And I'd like to introduce our guest tonight. Our guest tonight comes to us all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. She is the Tennessee Ministry Network Bible Quiz Coordinator, Sherri Alexander. And tonight, Sherri and I will be discussing the importance of Junior Bible Quiz communication. And I'm going to start with the first question. And that question is, how important is it for the coach to communicate with their students? There you go. And I
That is
actually did a better job this time, I think.
that's a big question. It's a lot.
Yes.
And I think that especially as we're beginning a new season, just to remember that every student may not understand all the JBQEs. So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to explain, even though you've got some students that have been there for a while. Don't be afraid to explain to them what we're talking about when we're talking about even what a question is, or interrupting, or what your keywords are. But don't forget to make sure that your younger students and your newer ones are catching on. As far as in a practice, the communication of just getting them to practices and involved is just part of the relationship building. And we don't build very many relationships without communication. So just that, talking to them and making the relationships to encourage them to come in.
Good. That's a great question. That segues to my next question. Next question is, how important is it for the coach to gain access to information that's available to them? Now, I know this is a question that's near and dear to your heart. As a district coordinator, it's very important. Well, let me, I won't answer it for you, but I know how important it is to you, so I'll be quiet now.
You could answer, that's fine. I think that many of us are trying to use websites. We use Facebook, even emails, but if I could just have people just answer my email and tell me that they got it. But yeah, so check out Facebook or check out the website at your district level, and if it doesn't answer your questions, then talk to the coordinator. Help them to understand what is beneficial in that website and what maybe needs to be changed. Just to know that some of my coaches and coordinators are first looking at the website, just trying to keep it up and have good fresh information on it is it's just helpful to know when it's not meeting those needs. So that's just a good plan. The Facebook page is fun. Ask questions on there. Engage other coaches and coordinators to, if you've got a question, somebody else may have that same question. And so just use the Facebook or whatever social media your district might be using to just have fun and just kind of get to know other people. Be kind. Somebody asks a question that you're like, well, that's silly. You should already know that. Well, you don't know where they're at. Yeah. And you don't know how much they've been in Bible quiz yet. And so just be kind. Answer if you don't have a polite answer, just don't.
Yeah. Yeah. For our guests, just in case some of you don't know, some of the districts do have their own, quite a few have their own Junior Bible Quiz Facebook page. There is a national Facebook page. Just simply searching Junior Bible Quiz. You should come up with a national page. There's also the Bible Strong Work Group, which is a national group. And if you don't have a Facebook page, make sure, if you're not the district coordinator, cordially ask them, have you ever considered having a Facebook page? Almost every district has a website that has a lot of information that you're looking for. I think it's important that you use these resources. I love the national Facebook page because we get some great questions in there, a really great place to share ideas. And I will do my best to put a link in the chat section for those of you who don't know about the Facebook group, because I think it's a great place to go and get information.
Mhm.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes you realize there's things you don't know you need to know. And
yes,
so
you don't know.
it's fun.
Yeah, I don't think it's the Bible, but I think it was more Benjamin Franklin. You have not because you ask not. But it is a good term, and we should be familiar with it quite readily. So, being aware of what's going on around you, and I think that uh, I can say this. To me, the flow of information is vital to me, because sometimes I might have a bad day, or I might have a bad practice at my church, right? And it might be me and my kids on a Monday night and it's raining outside and no one comes to Bible quiz practice. It's kind of nice to go and say, hey, there are other districts who are doing good, and maybe I can learn from them. So I check my Facebook group, or go to the website, or this is a long time ago. I might even text some of my friends on my new flip phone. But yeah, I think it's important for us to stay positively motivated to be able to participate in that conversation. So let me interject here. We got a couple of new people. We do have some courtesy rules tonight, so you all know what's going on. Everyone should mute their mic. If you haven't done so, I think you all have. Thank you for that. Please ask your questions via the chat. This podcast is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube channel. So now's the time to turn your camera off, or make sure your mic's muted if you don't want to be recorded. I'm not sure Big Brother is going to care a whole lot about my podcast or our podcast. Not all questions will be answered. That may not be the case tonight. I think we might get a few answered. And we're going to respect everyone's time. So we're going to keep this podcast to 30 minutes. And again, this is Sherri Alexander. She is the Bible quiz coordinator from the Tennessee Ministry Network. And our subject tonight is the role that communication plays in our Bible quiz ministry. So that's the last time I'll do that public service announcement. And if you don't know, smoking's bad for your health. It stunts your growth. So we'll go with that. Jennifer has a question for you, Sherri. How do you balance communicating the right amount with some parents? And some parents want more communication and some want less. Great question. Thanks, Jennifer.
Good luck.
Yeah. I think she was hoping for more than that, Sherri. She's looking for some of that wisdom.
Wisdom. Yeah. People are people. It is a challenge, though. There are some people that are constantly asking questions, and sometimes it just feels like some people just don't catch on. Some people, it feels like they're not paying any attention. Depending on how you're communicating. I mean, if you send a paper home every week, the ones that want it are going to read it. The ones that don't need it are, going to ignore it. If you're emailing or texting, you just got to be cautious. Text threads are sometimes horrible. So, you kind of got to be careful and things like that. But I don't know that, can we really, I don't know. It's hard to know. Just be kind. Let's just use that one again.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, but just know that there are people that just need more communication. There are people that need to be told more extra times just to catch on to what's being said. I'm sorry, I really don't have any wise words. Been in ministry for a long time, and it's just always a challenge. And just don't give up. Just
I'll weigh in on that, and I will say that in my world, and maybe Sherri can attest to this, I tend to over communicate. I tend to make sure you know exactly what's going on, and I try to make sure you know exactly what the expectations are, so there's no surprises. And I understand. I get some pushback from time to time, or I did when I was a church coordinator. I understand that parents they feel like we're nagging. But, a lot of times those are the same parents that will come to you and say, I didn't know there was practice tonight, or I didn't know we were having a fundraiser today, or I didn't know that we were quizzing today. And yes, I've heard that. And so I think that if you if you have to make a decision, I think I'd lean more towards the communication side. And I think how you present the information, it's not directed towards any one individual. It's like Sherri said, I don't like the text links either, but I do like large emails, as some of you all know, that have a lot of information in them. And I might send that out on a weekly basis, almost to a point where like they're coming to expect it. And so therefore they go, let's just Dan's weekly email. And sometimes they won't read it. And then I'll go, did you not read the email? And as leaders, our frustration levels sometimes go up, but we're also supposed to show love and joy and peace and patience, kindness, good, and all that stuff that we learned. So I hope that answered your question, Jennifer. So let me move on to the next question. Unless anybody else has a question, like I said, down in the notes down there. Here's one that I can't wait for Sherri to answer. Can we depend on the pulpit or social media to grow our Bible quiz ministry? Now, let me preface this question. In my introduction, I told you all about Sherri's Bible quiz background, but Sherri and her husband Todd are lead pastors at House of Grace Church in Gallatin, Tennessee. And so I think Sherri is fully equipped to answer this question because they have a good-sized church in the suburb of Nashville. So Sherri, how do you and Todd handle that when the Bible quiz coordinator for your church, oh, I love this question, wants to get some kids on the pulpit because we need that extra push from the lead pastor?
We do try to let the congregation know when there's a meet coming, when there's practices, is in the bulletin, is kind of listed. After a quiz meet, we like to bring the kids up and pat them on the back, just like we do for the Rangers or anybody else that kids come home from camp. We here's what happened this week. So we do periodically bring the quizzers up, but if you're counting on the pastor to build your quiz team, it's probably not going to happen that way. It's going to be the relationships that you make with the families, or your other parents, not just the coaches or the church coordinator. The parents should be as excited about the ministry as you are, so that they talk to those in their sitting in their section, those that they walk down the hall with to go get their students. You can't rely on the pastor to do it. The relationships that are built, just like any ministry, it's those relationships that bring more people to you. So encourage your parents that they would see a family, know that they're not in Bible quiz, and just talk with them, make those relationships, those friendships that would encourage them to come on. Is that enough about the pulpit?
Yeah, I mean, I'll segue. I think you made a really good point. And yeah, I never depended, I don't, as a church coordinator, I never depended on pulpit time. And so when we had pulpit time, the ability to bring our quizzers or make an announcement from the pulpit, then that was a special treat, and it was more like an extra. But I won't use any names, but I know a very successful Bible quiz ministry in North America that has been involved in Bible quiz from probably 40 plus years in junior Bible quiz. And the founding family there, the mother there who started Bible quiz in the church there and did it for 40 years until she retired recently. In her waning years, she didn't go into and run the games or run the practices or set up the quiz boxes, but her role was she would greet every parent that came to the church and or came to the ministry. So she had a relationship. They saw her, so she would come. She'd be there before practice or the Bible study started. She'd shake hands and meet everybody and talk to them a little bit. And then after that was all done, she would go sit in the service, and then she made sure she was there at the end to be able to say goodbye to everybody. And another church that I know here in Tennessee, when a new family, this is a bit aggressive, but it's all done in a spirit of love. The junior Bible quiz coordinator for the church makes sure that she goes and greets all the new families, and so she makes a habit of probably not every Sunday, but every a couple times a month she'll go and meet and greet new families when they're picking up their kids from kids church at the end of service, so that they're not rushed to get in the sanctuary. They are rushed maybe to go to get lunch, but she'd rather take their time at the end. So those are just really good ways you're communicating with new people and trying to figure out what's going on, and with them, and a good way to let them know about the ministry. So a lot of times our bulletins are so packed that we're not always able to get our stuff in there too. So that's another. And I don't know how many people use bulletins anymore. So I go to plenty of churches and I don't even see a bulletin. There's usually a rolling video at the beginning and end of service, and you might get a slide in there. So usually you get a slide in there. So that's something I always keep doing.
Yeah. And which is the other part of your question is social media. Can you rely on social media to grow your ministry? Well, same thing. It's still about the relationships. We can use social media to help people be aware, but it's not, most likely is not going to pull people in. It's hey, did you see on whatever media? Let me explain more about that. Let me help you understand what that is. You can use it that way, but the social media just kind of helps keep it in front of people, kind of helps them to see it, but it's most likely not going to bring people in. It's your relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, as a missionary, there's my shameless plug. But as a missionary, I do spend a lot of time talking to churches. It's not really my main focus, but it's part of what I do. And we talk about family discipleship. We talk about Bible quiz and what a great tool that is. But it usually is taking, especially with like lead pastors, it's taking several connections. It takes time. And so, you may greet that family, or you may greet that church, or you may greet that pastor, 3 or 4 or 5 times before you begin to see that there's an interest there. They especially depending on different communities, especially some communities are kind of suspect when someone comes up to them and they think you're going to sell them some Tupperware, or try to get them into Amway. And so they hear this Bible quiz thing, and so, oh yeah, it's great, and that's what we do. And I think that this podcast is directly related to social media communicating, and that's really the goals for this. Is that there is a tremendous amount of questions that people have for Bible quiz, and we could do Zoom meetings every night of the week, and I think that people would participate in those because they've got questions, especially new people. There's just a ton of people that are interested in junior Bible quiz, and all they know is that what somebody's told them about. It's all about the competition, and people are bashing your heads in, and you don't get to breathe because someone's interrupting the question, and they don't understand the whole discipleship side. So that's really the focus of this podcast. Is we're going to talk about different ways that you can use Bible quiz as a tool, and we certainly will talk about competition, but we'll talk about rules, but we're also going to talk about discipleship and how we can use this awesome tool and God's word to make an impact on our families. So that's the end of the shameless plug right there. So I've got a comment that Michael Teeter, I knew that you might, Michael wanted to mention a WhatsApp is a great app. I know that my sons use WhatsApp, and they're all in the late 20s, early 30s. So WhatsApp is probably a great app you could use to communicate with your parents. And so, or churches, or whatever your role in Bible quiz is. So I would encourage you to look at the WhatsApp. I do use that personally. I don't use it as a ministry. I guess I'm just too old. So let me get another question. I really want to get to this question, Sherri, because I think it's a great question. So this question here: how important is it that coaches and coordinators communicate with their parents about Bible quiz guidelines? Did I read that right?
I think so.
Okay.
The Bible quiz for us is a ministry. The fact pack is is what we want to use, is what we want to help to encourage families in their discipleship. But part of Christianity is being a good sport. When we quiz, we want Christ to show through. And sometimes when parents only partially understand the guidelines, they get confused and they get frustrated and upset. And sometimes those emotions are pointed towards other people, and we do not want that. So I think it's just a good practice to invite your parents in, which we were hoping they're coming to practices anyway. But make sure they have a set of guidelines, make that part of your routine, that you go over some of the guidelines, maybe not every meet or not every practice or every time you get together, but, go over some of the guidelines so that they understand, this is how it reads. This is how we interpret it, or, just to kind of let them know. Plus, it helps to make sure that when you need an official in a moment's notice, that they're already a little bit prepared. But I think it's important that our parents have an idea of what the guidelines are and a little bit more understanding, just make it more fun for everybody. When you're in a meet, you don't want to get so frustrated because you've misunderstood what was going on.
That's really good. That's really good. And I wish I had written that question, but Sherri wrote that question. So I think that's a great question. And I don't know that I would have mentioned the national guidelines, but you make a very valid point. And I think that so if I was a local church coordinator, I think that it'd be a great way. You could use that for 5 minutes, a practice or a meeting, whatever you call it. You take 5 minutes and review maybe one section of the guidelines. And so in a year's time, you'll have gone over that several times. And so that's good. I wanted to, again, we got a couple new guests. I won't go over the whole public service announcements, but I will ask if you have questions. Now is the time to ask them. We got about 4 minutes to go. And if you want to sneak another question in there, we'll take the next question that comes in. And while I give you a minute to do that, again, let me talk about the Bible quiz, the JBQ Quiz Talk podcast. It is our intention to do this weekly, barring internet interruptions or massive snowfall or things like that. Thanksgiving, yeah. Christmas time. I think I took Christmas time off. Yeah. Thursday, Thanksgiving. No, there will not be a podcast that day. But we will have podcasts. I think it's important that that this is a joint agreement between myself and some dedicated Bible quiz leaders across the country. We'll have different people. Next week, Julie Pratt will be here, and she will be talking about the heart of JBQ. If you've not heard her teach that lesson, I would really emphasize that you attend that one. She's got a great lesson to teach us on the importance of family. Excuse me, that's me that talks about family. Julie talks about the heart of JBQ. And so I'd encourage you to be that. Yeah, she is awesome. And in the future, we've got Todd Pappendick coming in to talk about the guidelines. We've got some local talent in the form of Lori Stiefel. Did I say that right, Sherri? Stiefel, yeah, out of Oak Ridge Church. She's going to talk about recruiting families and then we've got Larry Mullins come in and talk about his website to jbq.org. So those will all be recorded, and I have your emails. If I do not have your email, you can get a hold of me. However you found this link to be here tonight, let me know. I'll put you on the email list, and then we'll make sure weekly what the topic is. And then once the YouTube channel is up and running, we'll get to that real quickly. Sherri, I got one more question here for you. This is from McCurdy. Okay. And McCurdy asks, is there a way to put more emphasis on answers and less on interruptions? So, okay.
I think I want to answer that one, and I hope I get understood his heart, what he's asking. But for me, I know the interruption makes it are there partly for the quizzing and partly to just make the quizzing a little bit more intense, and that's fine. But for me, the reason I think that the interruptions are there is because when you've learned the question and the answer, you have more information. There are times where there's a question asked and you just understand the key points to the question and are able to answer it. You're not really understanding the full concept of the question. So I think the interrupt is more than just the competition. I think it's just to help the quizzers to understand exactly what the question and answer is, not just to be able to answer a question.
I hope that answers your question. All right. Thank you all for being here tonight. There's only one first episode, so we are the historic 9. I'm hoping we get more. I'm happy with 9, honestly. 9 is a great number, because it'll allow you guys to have more personal questions. And I think the YouTube, a lot of people were asking about the link to that. So we'll work on that. It is a work in progress for me. I am as crazy as it may sound, I'm not a social media guru, nor am I a YouTuber. I guess I am now, but that was not the intention. The intention is to make sure that we share what we know and our experiences about Bible quiz to the whole crowd. You're welcome. No problem, Glory. Glory says, thanks for doing this. Sorry I'm late. And with that, it is 8:30. I will go ahead and stop the recording. God bless you all, and I'll stop the recording.